Question is there anything that disappointed you about marriage? Yes.
What?
So I have a lot to update you on. We've basically been MIA from our YouTube channel because a lot has changed. And I will update you on those changes. But today is a very special day. We've been fostering these kittens, and it's been, I think, 6 weeks that we've had them with us. And this Monday, we decided to take them in to their shots and ended up having to leave them at the animal shelter. So that was really unexpected, even though we knew that that day was coming. But I just personally, I don't think I was ready to let them go. And it's really heartbreaking. Fostering is hard, and you do get attached, and then you sometimes feel like the people that work there work with animals so frequently that they kind of forget that this is an attachment and that it's kind of an emotional experience for us. And we just want to make sure that they go to good homes and all of that stuff. But good news, all of them, except for one, I believe, got adopted by people we know. So we were so happy about that. And they send us pictures and kind of update us on how the kittens are doing. So that's been really positive. But as you know, the kittens were staying in Joe's room. And poor Joe, I didn't realize how much of a displacement it was for him, where all of a sudden he couldn't really go in there for his clothes. He couldn't really have any privacy in the apartment. And we kind of realized how small of a space we're in. Mind you, this apartment complex in general, it's not somewhere we want to be long term. So definitely was really hard getting used to having these precious kittens, but having them for such a long period of time in his kind of space. So he doesn't know this, but today I went in there and I cleaned out everything. I deep cleaned the room because if you know something about Joe, you know that he's a bit of a germaphobe. He wasn't even going in his closet to get his clothes because he kind of was afraid that if he opened the door, then like the smell would get on his clothes. But he has still kind of not been going in that room since they left 4 days ago. And so, yeah, I went in there and I cleaned, and I really think he's going to be surprised because recently I have not been on top of cleaning in this house. And he's been okay with that, and he's, helped where he can, but we've just been really busy. So now it is 7:13. He just texted me. Have you eaten? No, I have not. He's probably going to be home soon, but you will be the first to see how the room is turning out right now. And it's not complete, but it's clean, and I just can't wait for him to see it. So let's go check it out. Also, look at these beautiful flowers. You know who gave them to me? One of the girls that adopted our favorite cat. She gave these to us, and she said, I know it's really hard to foster and then to let the animals go, so I just wanted to bring you this. Are you kidding me? Check it out. We have a little corner, cute little light. We have some junk there that I need to put away, but here's the library, and then the office.
Whoa! What's going on in here? What kind of party is this? Let's What's up, darling?
Are you happy?
What you doing in here?
I cleaned this entire thing.
This is crazy.
I've been waiting all day for you.
You've been holding it? Yeah, I'm so sorry. No poop smell?
Okay, I have another surprise for you. Come.
It's cold in here.
Is it really? Oh, good.
Why is it freezing?
It's not freezing.
Whoa, what in the world? What have you been doing in here?
Check it out.
Ooh.
So, do you like the food? Do you hate it? How do you feel?
Love it.
Heartbreak is too close to home. Got me searching places where my mind can roam. God,
Do you want some for dessert? Warren is taking them to Zion to prepare Zion, which is like what they consider to be heaven on earth, pretty much. So like the promised land. And so, but what he was really doing is taking all the children so that he could brainwash them, because the adults are starting to question him. And then, like, so many crazy things happen. And yeah, basically, it's like plot twist after plot twist, and no one knows. Like, not even his closest followers knew what was going on.
I don't know if I can keep you close. Heartbreak is too close to home. Got me searching places where my mind can roam. God, I don't know, but I've been here before. Know it too well, and I don't like
Sat
it.
down.
Poor Joe here. He's really tired. He's had a long day of work.
Just a little mentally exhausted.
But he's gracious enough to answer a few questions. So let's just do a couple, yeah?
Whoa. There's so many. Okay.
There's only 6.
You literally have 12. Ah, let me see.
I'm not showing you who wrote it.
Why?
I'll show you later.
Alright.
The question is there anything that disappointed
Pointed
you
you
about marriage?
Marriage.
Yes.
What? Don't answer
Nah,
that.
don't answer that. Disappointed me
Yeah.
about marriage? No, I don't think anything disappointed me. I think kind of shocked me. I think what was the most shocking thing was that, you know how people give you advice, like men do this if you want your wife to be happy. Women do this if you want your man to be happy. And then like to find out that some of those things are actually true was like kind of shocking to me. For example, when we first got married, like we both did the dishes, there was no problem. And then like later on, and we've only been married a short time.
Later on, she stopped doing the dishes.
Yes.
That's it.
But so did Joe. Like we just both realized we don't like doing the dishes. And so I don't know,
Right.
it's like one of those things that you're just like
You really want to talk about this right now. Here's
yeah.
the reason why I hate doing dishes, but I hate things being unclean. As a Spaniard, a true Spaniard, she is from the motherland. They tend to use every single dish in the kitchen. And I mean every single dish.
Objection, Your Honor.
Every single dish in the kitchen. Which makes it a bit overwhelming when it comes to doing dishes.
Yeah.
Because it's not just
But
your
I never
dish and her dish. It's every dish in the kitchen.
I never realized that.
Yeah.
Like until we got married. I didn't realize that because in my family, at least my mom always said, like she always plated things. Even if it was like rice that was, in the pot, she would take it from the pot and she would put it in a bowl. Like she always did that growing up. So that's kind of what I grew up with. But I feel like we're answering the question maybe a little bit more superficially than...
Yeah, well, I haven't answered
Or like
yet.
on a surface level?
Speak for yourself on that one. I haven't answered it.
Okay. Were you disappointed?
I can't say I was disappointed. I would say things were more. I mean, I learned things as they were. I think getting into this relationship, I was like, you know what? I think I need to learn more than anything is to find my joy in making her happy. So when I wasn't making her happy, then I kind of lost my joy here and there. So I think, and that might seem a bit like, kind of like, oh, that's
Like
whatever.
very extreme?
No, I think it's more like, all right, let's get with the real. Well, I can't say I was really disappointed in anything. I was ready to get married to Laya, and I mean, what came next, I wasn't really expecting something to go a certain way. It was more like, all right, it's time to adapt. And even that was like, well, it's time to adapt literally every single day.
Yeah, and I would say
Yeah.
we weren't very disappointed by things in marriage because Joe prepared us for some things that I personally was living in pure bliss like during our engagement and first few months of our married life. I was just like, everything's great, I'm loving this, and then Joe was the one having to bring up some conversations like, hey, you know, we should talk about finances and we should talk about how we want to manage our time together and just different things that to me it was just like, yeah, we're just gonna get married and then be married, you know?
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
important,
well.
and I think we should definitely talk about that more because people just kind of get married without having those conversations.
Yeah.
And I definitely would have been one of those people if it wasn't for Joe.
Yeah. Sorry, I
aware.
didn't mean no to your comment. I meant like, yeah, no, people don't think of those, or don't always necessarily think of those conversations.
Yeah.
But I just think I was at a point where it's like, my decisions affect the future. So it's like, because we want to get married, I think it's important to set up our future starting now.
The second part of that question was, what expectations did you have that weren't true?
That weren't true.
Or false expectations?
Maybe one that's because you're so jolly and happy. I was like, I could never see her mad at me.
Really?
And then when I saw you mad, I'm like, oh God, I don't like this. Like, what the heck is this?
Well, no one likes that.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
You never.
that
you
I just
like,
didn't expect. I just didn't expect it.
You didn't think I had like any temper or anything.
I guess I just couldn't imagine it. I don't know.
Now, can you imagine it? No?
Yeah.
You know what? Something I realized about Joe was that I saw myself in him. A lot of my temper, or a lot of just the way that I handled certain situations, I noticed Joe handled it that way. And so it was really wild to face like arguments, for example, and we both handle it the same way. So
In a similar way.
where it was like hard for us to step out of that moment because we both kind of expected the other person to do what other people have done for us in the past. If you're used to not being the first person apologizing and you're both not used to that, then when you come together, you have to learn to apologize. And that's something that I learned and realized we're both very stubborn. We're just that way. But Joe says passionate. That's what Joe says. Stubborn, passionate,
You're
synonyms.
a little more stubborn. I'm more passionate.
Yeah.
She's the
Do you
stubborn
see this
one.
right
She's the stubborn one.
now? Yeah. What are your rules to fight fairly?
To fight fairly. I think, well, one thing is to try and, before you get to the fight, or try not to get to the fight. Now, we're human, so we're going to fight, especially because you're passionate people. if you haven't ever argued with anybody, it's because you've never been passionate about anything. We are both very passionate people, and I think we tend to argue. Now, when I say argue, that's completely different than fighting. If it ever gets to the point where you're bickering, where we are bickering, which we do get to bickering, and turns into like a stupid fight, one of us will either be like, at this point, like, you know what?
Just walk away.
I'm done talking right now. And then come back. But to get to that point, we had to understand how we had to get outside of ourselves and understand that, you know what, right now, because we're both pissed off at each other, we're starting to make it like her against me, right? And when it gets there, you start to really dislike the person.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like disliking this person that I like, you know.
I also think it's such a huge lie. Personally, we kind of use the Bible, right? Don't let the sun go down on your anger, to say you shouldn't take time, or especially during the night, right, to think about things. But sometimes you get into an argument because you're tired, and it's stupid. You know, it can be totally stupid, and you kind of know it, but you're just tired. And so there's been a couple of times where we have to go to bed, and I'm telling you, it's like clockwork, because we do want a fresh start when we wake up in the morning. And so oftentimes when we wake up in the morning, we automatically just give each other a hug and start the day from zero. Sometimes we don't even address it, because if it was something that didn't need our energy and attention.
Yeah, but to get to that point, again, it's when we wake up, it is like, hey, I'm sorry, I love you.
Yeah.
You have to come into an understanding.
Yes.
And agree with yourself that, you know what, I'd rather let go of my ego, which again does not happen overnight. It goes with this concept like, if I'm good, we're good. And a lot of times that takes a little bit of sacrifice and saying, you know what, let me just let go of my ego. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. Hey babe, I love you more than I want to argue, more than I want to fight. I love you more than I want to hold on to this stupid thing, you know.
Also, just something to think about. If you could take a look at the way that you were raised and what happened when you got into arguments, how did your parents discipline you? Because a lot of times you will be raised with that kind of mentality of, this is how I argue, or this is how an argument should happen. Mm-hmm. And that's something we've had to unlearn a lot, is how do we want to have arguments? How do we want to handle it? That comes with
with the territory.
A lot of ego when it comes to saying I'm sorry.
For instance, in marriage, there is a lot that will work, and there is also a lot that will not work. I learned to do things my own way, right? Mm-hmm. And when we got married, you came with the way that you did things at your home, how you were raised. And to me, that was like, yo, you're invading my space. Remember those first couple weeks? But I had to fight this thought of like, yo, she's moving all my stuff into, well, let's learn to share. And that's literally what I tell everybody. Like, here's an example. I have a knick-knack drawer, and if I know a lot of my guy friends, most guys have a knick-knack drawer, which means a drawer in the kitchen that has anything and everything except kitchen stuff, kitchen supplies.
I don't know why it's in the kitchen.
But wait, listen. Before she starts with her passion, she knows what it's there for. Like, I asked her, hey, do you mind if I just have this knick-knack drawer? Because, it's there. And then I asked her, hey, can we put this stuff in the knick-knack drawer? Just because, here's the functionality of it. And she was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. As long as the communication is there, literally, you don't have to make it perfect. It's literally, hey, babe, you cool with this? All right, cool.
No communication is too little or too unimportant.
No.
How did your relationship change when you got married? I don't know. Marriage is always something that I have wanted since I was really little. And Joe is a person that I never, just based on his qualities and his character, he's somebody that I just never thought I would ever be able to marry. Oh. I mean it though. It's true. Like there were little things where I would always be like, man, that would be really cool if I could marry somebody like that. But I just never thought that all of these qualities I liked could be in one person. Something that one of our friends shared with us this past week, he shared something that really stuck with me, and that was the only person that will ever be able to give you the unconditional, sacrificial love that you expect out of a partner is God. That's the only person. Everybody else will disappoint you because we're human and our love has conditions sometimes, right? We don't love fully. We don't love unconditionally and selflessly all the time. But when he said the words, I was like, yes, this is exactly how I felt. I couldn't rely on you for, I don't know, for everything I needed. You know, spiritually, emotionally, it's just a lot to put on a person.
Just to piggyback on that, like, you can't rely on the other person to make you feel a certain way, to do certain things for you, because people are always going to disappoint you. I think we got to understand the concept of singleness versus loneliness. They're two completely different things. When you are a healthy single person, you know who you are at this point, and you're comfortable and you love yourself and you know who you are. Well, you will carry that throughout your marriage.
That's right.
You have to learn to carry that throughout your marriage. We're literally adapting to being with each other.
Yeah.
But I'm still me, she's still her, and I'm okay with that, and she's okay with that. So our singleness, is going to be carried throughout literally our life. I'm just going to keep adapting to these new seasons, new environments, and guess what? I have a partner that's going through that with me too.
And actually, we've both been in relationships where we kind of lost who we are. So
ourselves, yeah.
We know what it's like to lose ourselves, and we know what it's like to be in a relationship where we can be fully ourselves.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say that, right? Find somebody who you can be fully yourself around. But essentially, you actually have the ability to grow where you're accepted and expected to grow. We have 2 more questions. The first is, what do you think about couples therapy?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
What I think of couples therapy, well, for us to get to this point, again, keeping with the concept of things don't happen overnight. You have to get to a certain point. As we've gotten to an understanding, what happened was because we were fighting a lot. And we weren't arguing. It was fighting and bickering, and it was annoying as hell. It was dumb as frick. So what Laya did, she's a mental health specialist. She's a therapist, and she's in the mental health field. She literally got us a therapist. To me, my quick instinct was, dang, are we at that level? Frick, is it that bad? Like, God. But I am also a fan of therapy. I love, all my friends who are in therapy I hear amazing things about it. You
had to do a quick self-check.
Yeah, I had to do a quick check.
You were against it or anything.
Right. It was not that I was against it. I was like, dang it, are we that bad? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, let's see what we can learn from this. Yeah. And so we got a therapist, a marriage therapist, literally within the first couple of months of our marriage. Ultimately, something that really stood out to me about what she said was, look, you guys are good. These arguments, it's like, literally, set them aside from you. You are literally above these little things.
She said there's like internal factors and then external factors, right?
She's like, you're making these little problems your world right now. It's not worth it. A lot of times it's not worth it. Is it worth you being right or wrong? Is it worth you being right or wrong? A lot of times, no.
And I would say the best way to practice that is with your friends or your family. Like, you don't have to be in a relationship to learn how to fight well.
Well, yeah, in a romantic relationship. I think we're in a relationship every day with people around us.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the best way to learn.
Last one is what to experience if you've chosen time for yourself.
I'm wondering if this question is saying, like, what should I be experiencing if I've chosen time to be myself? I think it goes to the concept of singleness, right? One of my mentors says it. You've dated yourself. Literally date yourself. Get to know who you are again. Because a lot of times in different seasons that we're in, we've lost ourselves in the season, in the people that we were with, the friends that we made, and the community that we had.
Yeah.
And sometimes in life we have to adapt to new seasons, new environments, new communities. And we feel lost. I've definitely felt that several times. And so I think what is something that you should be experiencing? I can only talk in my own experience. I think if I could go back to talk to my 18, 19-year-old self, 20-year-old self, all the way to now, is be open to the opportunities. Look at problems as opportunities, not problems. The way we define things really does something to our brains. So if we define our problems as problems, sometimes it will become our whole world and we will get stuck in there. And if you do it, that's okay. Just don't dwell in that space.
Yeah.
Let it become an opportunity. Now, what is an opportunity? Well, you can define it whatever you want. How I defined it was, this is an opportunity to learn right now. And so I think right now in your singleness, it's important. If you've chosen some time for yourself, literally learn from everything, from everyone and anyone. Ask questions. Literally, this is your time to learn and grow. Invest in yourself. You know, that doesn't always mean buy yourself something. Sometimes it does. But literally, what you're consuming, the people you're surrounding yourself by, the things that you're eating, the things that you're doing, the things that you're reading, everything right now should be feeding into what it is that you want. And if you haven't found what you want, what your purpose is in life, that's okay. But if you do find something, when you do find something, surround yourself by those type of people. Read those type of books. Consume that type of media. Literally, when you find something that you want, that fills your mind, fills your heart with urgency, this is the thing you can't sleep. This is the reason you can't sleep. This is the reason what wakes you up in the morning. If you surround yourself by that, literally your whole world will start shifting.
Yeah.
You know?
And the reality is, when you start dating, when you get married, you're splitting your time, you're splitting your energy, you're splitting your resources, your family, your relationships, everything. And that's the truth. When you're single, you're able to focus 100% on you. And that's intentional. And I look at Jesus's ministry and his life, 33 years being single, and how his disciples would always find him alone, just praying to God and spending time with God. To me, that's an encouragement of the fact that singleness is such a fruitful season. And we don't encourage people as much as I think we should to be single. Please, please be single. I have so many friends who have gotten married or have been in relationships their entire lives. I've definitely been in a lot of relationships too, where I think I could have just been single and focused on myself. Sometimes it's hard to be intentional with your growth when you're constantly in relationships. So I think it's amazing that you've chosen time for yourself. Thank you so much, babe, for doing this, okay. We love you. And that's it for today.
Heartbreak is too close to home, got me searching places where my mind can't roam, God. Heartbreak is too close to home, got me searching places where my mind can't roam, God.